Hello everyone, the singing is a little bit more elongated this week. Hi Jeannine, it's Morgan Hasn't Seen.
Hello.
Yeah, we have reached the end of our Will Smith series
/ Men in Black.
/ Men in Black series.
Because it wasn't all Will Smith.
Yeah, I suppose that is technically true. Will Smith / Men in Black series, and we've reached the end of it with a movie that won the poll first and foremost. Jeannine, it won the poll, the People's Choice, and well, I kind of want you to lead off with kind of the whole episode because I feel like this one is maybe the biggest deal in terms of a single movie in the show since the first episode of the show with Iron Man.
Yeah, of a movie that you haven't seen that people would be surprised that you haven't seen, you mean?
Yes. That is exactly what. And also, like, sort of cultural relevance.
Yes. I'd say that. I'd agree with that.
Or,
pretty surprising.
I don't know. Is the first Men in Black up there?
I wouldn't say that.
Even though it's...
I could see people who haven't seen those movies.
Okay. But yes.
And it's of its time, so if you weren't really of that time, then I could understand you not really getting into it when it came out.
No, that's fair. But yes, hello everyone, this is Morgan Hasn't Seen. I am Morgan, I haven't seen things. That is Jeannine, she forces me to see things, and for some reason I let her do it. I don't know why. It's just kind of what happens around here. Jeannine, I've already muddled up the whole introductory segment situation. What movie is it that I hadn't seen this week that won the poll? That did.
Yeah, so as you said,
yes,
we had a poll. We put 4 Will Smith movies on the poll, and the one that everyone selected that is quite fitting for the day of the release of this episode.
Oh yeah,
is Independence Day.
Independence Day. Now, I just want to be completely transparent here. I voted for Ali in the poll.
And quite a few people actually did vote for Hitch.
First of all, I think we should say, before we actually get into the movie, thank you to everybody that did vote in the poll.
Yes, we much appreciate it.
We got probably a lot more than I was anticipating, which is wonderful. I hope you all maybe are interested enough to listen to us talk nonsense about the movie. Even though, this is the most nonsense show on the whole internet.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I appreciate having some help forcing you to watch things sometimes. It's nice.
You had a lot of help because it ran away with the poll, like 56% or something like that.
Yeah. So who knows if it was the July 3rd release of this episode or just because it's probably the most popular Will Smith movie that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the runaway favorite.
Yeah, it was. Okay, so before any of sort of my weird thoughts on this movie get stated, Jeannine, what does Independence Day, the movie, not the holiday, what does Independence Day mean to you? Are you the kind of person that holds this like, oh my god, this is the greatest movie ever, yes, 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 America?
I wouldn't go that far, but it does hold some nostalgia for me. I mean, it's rare for, I think, most people to remember movies they've seen in the theater as a child. And this was one I definitely remember seeing. Like, I remember seeing this in the theater when theaters did not have stadium seating, and you were like, all the seats were on the same level.
I really liked that.
So yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember seeing this on Independence Day as a kid. and just being blown away by all the action and like totally crushing on Jeff Goldblum. And
Did you turn into a young white teenager once you were crushing on
like,
Jeff Goldblum?
yeah, like, oh my gosh, she was like the cutest. And like, oh my gosh, like, yeah,
I mean,
totally.
I kind of completely agree. This is kind of
Like, I mean,
peak
for
handsome Jeff
me,
Goldblum.
yes, he was peak handsome in this more than Jurassic Park for me.
Jurassic Park, he is, well, obviously Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park is epitomised by the open shirt laying
Sure.
down
Yeah.
situation.
But I think it's more in that movie, he was like more suave and more like trying to be like a ladies' man guy.
Exactly.
Whereas this one, he's not that.
No. He's
You
a
know,
science
he's just slightly
person.
neurotic. He's a scientist. He's worried about the science. And yeah, I think I just liked that, you know, simple man vibe from him, I guess. I don't know.
I mean,
But he was still doing the Jeff Goldblum thing.
oh, he was totally doing the Jeff Goldblum thing. The amount of Jeff
The
Goldblum
stutter, the
isms
quirk. Yes.
in Independence Day is, yeah, they're still all there. All of your favourite Jeff Goldblum isms are still there.
Yes.
Which
But
is
yes,
wonderful.
to answer your question, yes, I did feel all the patriotism of it. I did love all the effects. I loved peak Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum. And you kind of don't realize that they don't really team up till the end of the movie,
No.
essentially. But even though those moments they have together are really fun.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I even remember getting kind of emotional at the big Randy Quaid like moment as a kid.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I do have the patriotic feels. Yes, it is slightly ridiculous, maybe a little bit more than slightly ridiculous, but it does have that nostalgia factor for me, and I think that's what kind of gives it a pretty strong place in my enjoyment of the film.
You want to know some? You want to know a couple of movies that I remember seeing in the cinema as a child?
Sure.
And I mean, I'm talking like a child. I mean, people know how old I am anyway, so you know, Scooby Doo.
Live action Scooby Doo.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Freddie Prinze Jr. Scooby Doo. Yes. And of course, twice I believe was Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Twice,
I think. As
Twice.
a child. I was a child.
Twice. You know that movie is the reason that the Seuss family will not allow any more live action adaptations of their films.
I do know that. I don't think it's a good movie.
But you saw it twice.
When I was like, I don't know, 6, 7.
Okay.
Is that not acceptable for a 7-year-old? I think
I
so.
feel ancient. Thank you, Morgan.
Well, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I don't know what
Back
you
in
want
my
me to do.
day, back in my day, I saw Independence Day, and it was wonderful.
Okay. So old. So old.
Yes.
Oh my
So
god.
very old.
But yeah, I don't think that's a good movie. I didn't say it was a good movie. I just said I saw it twice in cinemas as a child.
Okay.
I have seen it
fair
since.
enough.
Oh, I have seen it since, and maybe not in the last few years, but no, it's kind of horrendous, but also great in a absolutely this is the world's worst movie kind of way.
Kind of like a car accident. Like you just can't look away at like what is happening and how it's happening and how anybody allowed this to come to pass.
For example,
Kind of way.
why does the Cat in the Hat utter the phrase "dirty hoe"?
Yeah.
Which is a phrase that the Cat in the Hat utters in that movie. But thank God we are not here to talk about Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat this week, because I have seen that movie, but I had not seen Independence Day.
Independence Day.
And if you want me to come straight in with the sort of the
Yeah.
opinion
So-
that's going to offend the most people.
So would you rather just get the negatives out of the way first? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Bec-
So what did you not enjoy about this film?
Because I didn't love this movie. It was so overblown. It has no business being 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh my gosh, I do not remember this movie being 2 hours and 25 freaking minutes. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go into some positives. You know what I do. My mind likes to
Yes.
flutter around a lot. Everything from the start of Bill Pullman's speech to the end of the movie is great. I loved it. I loved everything that happened from that speech until the very end of the movie. The second act, I couldn't tell you what happened in the second act. It didn't seem relevant to what was going on. I just don't think I understood this movie. And it's not as though it's some sort of difficult, really intellectual movie. I just don't understand why a lot of the stuff that's happening is happening. I messaged you while I was watching it, obviously, and I think I likened it to, it's like, you know, got the same nonsensical alien invasion of War of the Worlds, but without any of the clever subtext.
Yeah, I mean, in watching it, I realized there's a lot of filler things in there that didn't really go anywhere or were kind of unnecessary.
It's not. I don't
Like
think.
plot points.
The thing is,
and-
I don't think
But
it's
I mean,
filler.
I think that just. But I feel like it just. They put it in there. Like, I don't know if they expected it to go somewhere, but it didn't. And it kind of slowed down pacing and made for a complex story where, like, a not so interesting complex story where
Exactly.
it didn't have to be that way.
Exactly.
So that was something I kind of noticed in watching it again. That there were a lot of things in there that just didn't need to be there.
Yeah. Exactly. My point.
Yeah.
I don't think anything that happened is necessarily filler, and I don't think that everything that happens doesn't get some sort of payoff in the end, because it does. Everyone's little storyline, whether it's Goldblum or Will Smith or Randy Quaid or Bill Pullman or whoever it is, everybody gets payoff at the end. Everybody's story is told in a perfectly coherent way. It's just so bizarrely overblown and long, and definitely felt very dragged out in the second act for me. When it started, I was kind of getting into it, but again, it goes to my point that if you're gonna make a movie 2.5 hours long,
Then make everything mean something.
well,
Like put in the things
make there a reason for it to be 2.5 hours long. This movie could have been
don't just
over.
put stuff in there because, oh, I have an extra 30 minutes. I'm just going to throw random shit in here that I don't really need, that doesn't really add to the story, but it's just I want to put it in here.
It's just there a lot of the time for emotional beats. And yeah, sure, every movie manipulates you emotionally. That's what movies are for. That's what any art form is for, to manipulate your emotions. Sure, great. But it is unnecessary to the extent that this movie does it. This Independence Day should have been an hour 40 of an alien invasion action movie with the nice little family moments from Goldblum and Will Smith.
The president
and
Will
yeah,
Smith.
I guess to a point, the president. And yeah, if you want to throw, this is why my opinion kind of it's weird on this movie, because I enjoyed watching it. I'm struggling to actually explain it properly how I feel about this, because I didn't love it at all, and it just did feel very unnecessarily big and unnecessarily complex, even though it was very simple, which doesn't make sense. But there was just a lot going on when there didn't need to be, even though that I thought what was going on all made sense and was all told perfectly fine. I just don't think I needed any of it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in that aspect, I agree. It was coherent, but it was just too much stuffed in there that didn't really pay off in a way of like, okay, this is really adding to this. This is making the story more interesting for me. This is making me feel more than I did before. It didn't really accomplish any of that. So in that sense, it was kind of unnecessary.
Yeah, and I get that. I get that the whole movie is yay America, yay. And look, like I,
Hey, the Brits pop up in there.
and that is an embarrassment.
It's about bloody time.
That whole
It's old Morse code.
that whole thing is an embarrassment, and yeah, I didn't care for that at all.
Yeah, I didn't think you would.
But
You need to be saved by the Americans.
I don't want to come off like I'm saying. I don't know. I'm finding it very difficult to form coherent thoughts, because I don't think this movie's bad, but I just don't enjoy it that much for some reason.
It just didn't resonate with you.
Not at all. And I don't know whether that's because, obviously, I'm not American, so I don't celebrate the 4th of July. So the fact that everybody always kind of watches this on the 4th of July, it's a whole big event. And it's obviously this big spectacle movie that, like you said, you saw as a kid. You saw in the theatre on the 4th of July.
On Independence, yeah.
That's the whole point of the movie. The whole point of the movie is to, play on everyone's patriotism on that particular day. And it does that beautifully well. It really does that so well. I just don't think it means anything to me.
Okay, well, what would you have suggested you would like to have seen in lieu of those additions and overblown things that you didn't think were needed? Like, would you have liked more insight on why specifically the aliens were invading? Because they kind of just say they just want to invade and take over. Well, that was kind of all they said. They didn't really give them a reason.
Well, yeah, but
or anything like that. Would you have liked more stuff like that in place of the things that you felt like were necessary, or would you just have liked all that stuff omitted, and then for you it would have made for a more coherent, smooth, clean story?
This is the strange thing. I don't want anything taken out of this movie, but it's I don't want anything. I don't want any story beats taken out of this movie. I don't want any of the characters taken out of this movie. I just think it all needs to be shortened. It all needs to be simplified. It doesn't need to keep dragging from one science lab to the other place, to Air Force One, to Area 51 with Jeff Goldblum and his dad, even though I liked everything that Jeff Goldblum and his dad were doing. And with the alien situation, I don't mind the fact that, it's just a case of they've come to invade, because that's exactly what War of the Worlds is. You don't get any reason. They're just here, and they're just going to invade. But what a story like War of the Worlds does really well, whether it's the book or the 50s movie, it has its subtext there. Whether it's to do with the industrial age and the, fear of technology, or whether it's in the 50s movie to do with nuclear age and the Cold War and the fear of, invasion from weapons that you can't fight against. And to a point, this movie has that in it. But it has, obviously, fear of... Or maybe it doesn't. because obviously have weapons that you have to try and get around and figure out, oh, how are we going to beat this thing? But also,
Yeah.
I think it's the fear element that isn't there. I don't think people were scared enough in this movie.
Okay. I can see that.
It just kind of happened. Everybody was kind of awestruck. There was a bit of destruction. Everybody left all the cities, but everybody seemed very, very confident in themselves.
Yes.
And
That is a really good point.
I want people to be terrified of these aliens.
And I'm wondering if that plays into the whole like America vibe of it.
It
That you want,
probably exactly does.
America, everyone's brave and ready to fight,
Of
and
course it
all
does.
of that.
Of course it does. And like I said, it does it so well. It does what it set out to do perfectly. I just don't
Wow,
think
that's
it's
a really
my
good
kind
point.
of movie.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. That is a very good point. Like, people aren't scared enough. Yeah, you see people running away and explosions, but like the main core people, like,
look,
they should at least kind of be a little bit
yeah.
scared and then kind of go into like, okay, I need to overcome this fear to do what I need to do. But you never really saw any of the fear at all. They all just kind of knew what they needed to do.
To bring up War of the Worlds again, and even I'm going to talk positively about Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds right now with Spielberg and Tom Cruise's War of the Worlds. In that movie, you get to see people that are terrified.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is terrified in that movie for the safety of his family. Tim Robbins, when he comes in as that weird guy underground or whatever he is, he is hiding out there because he's so terrified of being killed by these things. He doesn't want to make you can't make a sound or anything like that. There's none of that in Independence Day. In Independence Day, you just fly up to the ship, fly inside the ship, say hello, punch him in the face, and be out. No, I don't like that. I don't like that with my alien invasion movies. I just want some fear. And like you said exactly, it is very much a case of the whole movie is America incarnate. In the sense,
and we have to show how proud we are, and how strong we are, and how brave we are.
Fearless. Like, screw fearlessness. Be afraid and come up and overcome that. That makes for a much better story. Look at A Quiet Place. That's an alien invasion movie. That's an American movie. That's an alien invasion movie where the people are terrified, but they overcome that. And it's a better story for it. You know?
Wow. You're really giving me some realizations here. I never really thought about that.
Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Alien invasion movie where people are terrified and have to figure out how to beat them. Whereas Independence Day, everybody seems so sure that they are eventually going to beat them anyway, that when they figure out how to beat them, it's just like, oh yeah, well that was always going to happen. You just don't. I just never got the feeling that anybody thought the world was actually going to end.
Well, Goldblum does have one little moment where he's like, they just decide they're gonna just shoot nukes at them, and he kind of freaks out and has like a panic, and he's like destroying everything and saying, maybe if I mess it up enough, then they won't want to destroy us. And
yeah,
then he doesn't really come up with his, really way to fix things until his dad says something that triggers this thought about the whole virus. So you do get to see my favorite character in this movie actually kind of have a freak out for a minute, which I appreciated. But yeah, you're right. If there had been kind of more of people really panicking and then having to overcome that, that would have made for some more complex characters, some more interesting character moments.
Yeah.
And yeah, they would have felt maybe more real.
And again,
and I never really thought of that before. So
I never like not enjoying movies. And like I said before, I did enjoy this movie. I did enjoy watching it. It was fun. I just didn't get any feeling from it whatsoever. which is, and obviously with this movie trying so hard to manipulate your emotions and make you feel a certain way and make you feel, proud to be an American. We are brave. It's not made for non-Americans. Even though I love the country so much,
Yeah.
I never grew up being so patriotic, and I just don't understand. I don't understand patriotism, to be quite honest with you. Whether it's for my own country, I at least understand American patriotism because at least you had to fight for your own independence. What did we do? We just appeared. We were just conquered and then centuries and centuries ago and just became a people thanks to many different versions of people.
It's very exciting. It's very brave.
So I'm saying, this is my... I don't want to get too detailed into my thoughts on the difference between British patriotism and American patriotism. But with American patriotism, it means something, even to me, to see an American be patriotic about their country, because that is a country that, in the last few hundred years, you had to fight for its independence. You had to fight to be a country. And sure, America, you've done some horrendous things in your very short history. But, it's that original point, which is why, that's not a case with British patriotism. I feel like people who are heavy British patriots want to rule the world because that's what Britain used to do and that's what we should do again. No. What are you talking about? That would be chaos. I just don't know. I just think that is...
You said that a lot of the emotional things did not affect you. So there was not one emotional beat that was thrown your way that made you feel anything.
No, I like Goldblum and his dad. I like them a lot. Goldblum is my favourite part of the movie. More so than Will Smith, I think. And Will Smith's great. I just think Will Smith in this movie is kind of a lot different to the Will Smith movies I have seen, or a lot of the Will Smith movies I've seen, because in this movie he is incredibly confident in himself. And in something like Men in Black, for instance, Will Smith is figuring stuff out, and he's kind of funny, he comes out with a quip and stuff like that, but he's also a little bit goofy. There's no goofiness to Will Smith in Independence Day whatsoever.
Well, there's some.
I don't think there is.
When he's riffing and he's dragging the alien through the desert, he's like... That is like one of the best riffs ever. And he's like, I could have been at a barbecue.
I mean, yeah.
And talking about how it smells and its dreadlocks are hanging out of the back of his parachute.
Look, I guess. I just think, and maybe, everybody watches movies in a different way. Everybody feels certain little different things from each different movie, right? Maybe it's because I am not a particularly confident person that I enjoy seeing non-confident people overcome things in movies, rather than just these brash, incredibly confident people know what they're gonna do from the very start, even against insurmountable odds. They are so confident that they are gonna win, and that just doesn't work in my brain. So I don't understand that. And again, I'm struggling to... I'm struggling to explain kind of exactly what I mean. I hope I'm not coming across like a complete hateable buffoon.
Not at all.
No, but to
but I
everybody
mean,
else, I
what?
know that could never be possible with you. I could never come across as a hateable buffoon to you, but to everybody else that might be, that might have been excited for me to watch Independence Day because, and maybe it's one of their favourite movies, maybe they like people loving this movie, but I'm just trying my very hardest to explain, to sort of be very self-aware of myself and try and explain why I didn't gravitate towards this movie as much as a lot of people that I know do.
Well, I think you explained yourself very well.
I don't
think
I did.
I think you did. I mean, you've given me some realizations about things that I didn't really think about in seeing this movie multiple times. So, yeah, that's why these discussions are always very interesting. But I guess, I mean, if you want to get some goodwill back, you could talk about the things you really did enjoy. I mean, you said you loved from the speech on.
Yeah.
Did you like anything in the first act, in the introductions of the characters on top of the finale?
I did. I liked the characters in this movie very much. Every major character is great. Everybody's performing really well. And this is my thing. I've not got any problem with the movie and the way the movie plays out and what the movie is trying to do. My problem is that what the movie is trying to do is something I don't understand. And what the movie is portraying is something I don't understand. Rather than the actual story itself, which is perfectly understandable. It's not the way. Again, I'm muddling over my own words.
No,
and I'm trying so hard to coherently explain what I'm trying to say. Because I hate not liking movies. I hate having a reason to not love a movie. Because I always want to be a positive force. I always want to be a positive person when it comes to this sort of stuff. I always love finding the positives in stuff. And yeah, we're going to get onto the positives that I found in this movie, I promise you. I'm just trying to overcomplicate my own explanation right now. And
no, I totally get where you're coming from. As someone who doesn't really understand or has really any experience with like patriotism to this level, I can get you not really relating to those aspects and maybe them feeling somewhat like hollow to you. Like you can appreciate that.
yeah.
But it's not something that you really know. So you can't really relate to it or really get into it in a way other people would who are exposed to it all the time. So I totally understand that.
I'm gonna get so much hate. Oh no. I'm sorry, everyone. I truly
That's
am.
the fun of this show. That is the fun of this show.
I thought the fun of this show was finding movies that I haven't seen and then I end up liking them.
Not always. I mean, you know what's coming next after this. So.
I do, but at least with those movies, it's just like... I think my reasoning for disliking... And I'm there's no guarantee I'm actually going to dislike the Fast and Furious movies. There's no guarantee I am. I just have in my head the type of movies that they are, that I will. I didn't go into Independence Day thinking it was this movie. I didn't go into Independence Day thinking the movie was what it was. I thought it was going to be a much snappier movie. A kind of more action-heavy movie.
Which, yeah, surprisingly, with after kind of those big set pieces, there's not very much action.
There isn't.
There's not as much action as I always remember there to be.
This is what I'm saying. It feels
Because-
like a lot of the movie is devoted to. Here are some aliens. How are we going to defeat the aliens. Well, we have this, that we can defeat the aliens. We're going to defeat these aliens, Mr. President. Whereas I'd rather them say, we have no idea, Mr. President. We're working on it. We promise you we're working on it. I like to see desperation in my alien invasion movies.
Yeah, they came up with things to try very quickly and
Very quickly.
very in quick succession.
And also, the fact that it's a computer virus that defeats the aliens is the most thing I think I've ever heard in my... Since this side of the Matrix is the most boring, computery, late 90s computer garbage. That I know what the most terrifying thing in the world is. Computers. Let's pretend that a computer virus can destroy whole civilizations. It's the same with the Matrix, right? What's the big bad in the Matrix?
That's not necessarily as simple as that.
The big bad in the Matrix is a computer virus.
The whole issue was the fact that they just couldn't defeat them because they had their shields on. So in order to find a way to disable the shields so that they could attack them was to give it a virus to stop the shields from working. So it wasn't like the virus
I'd rather it
killed them all. They still had to do the work in fighting them after that. They just had to disable the shield.
I just don't like
did.
computers at all.
Computers saving the day with a bunch of just fake clickety tappity.
Exactly. Clickety tappity. Oh, you've got a computer virus.
Hackety.
I was expecting. Well, there was actually one point when on one of the I don't know if it was the mothership on one of the screens, a little skull and crossbones comes up and starts laughing. Oh my god, it's the most infuriating computer nonsense I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my gosh.
It's the same.
I forgot about that.
Look. And again, this is my personal opinion. It's my personal opinion on certain other things. Oh my god. When it's the late 90s or the mid 90s and computers are the most terrifying thing, and I just hate movies like that. I hate them.
Well, it's mid-late 90s, exactly what you're saying. So that kind of thing can be sold to an audience at that time.
Oh, for sure.
And
for sure,
and the fact that it was the reason for the pairing of finally getting Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum to do their little buddy cop thing that you kind of, in seeing a trailer for this movie, you would think that they were kind of a team or whatever the whole movie, but this doesn't happen till the end.
Exactly.
So this whole little mission is you finally getting that awesome moment of the two of them joining forces.
Again.
It's just fun. So I can overlook the silliness of a computer virus because it's, 1996?
Yeah.
That was the thing. That was the trend
exactly.
of hacking and crap like that. That just, it was able to just sell me, and I could just be like, okay, stupid, but okay. I'm enjoying them together. I'm enjoying their banter. I'm enjoying the silly skull and crossbones on the screen. It's fine. I'll get over it. It's fine.
I am convinced I'm coming across as the world's most annoying person right now.
This is our show. You are entitled to your honest opinions, and that's okay. We're not going to all agree. We're not all going to feel the same way about things, and that's okay, because this is a positive space, okay?
I'm not saying...
So whatever anybody says out there, we're in our positive bubble. It's okay.
I'm not saying that... I'm not saying that the computer virus shouldn't be there. I'm not saying that it makes sense for a movie brought out in the mid-late 90s. Same with The Matrix. I'm not saying that these movies can't use computer viruses in the way they use them as these big sort of things that can take down a lot of things. Obviously in The Matrix it's kind of the villain, Agent Smith is a virus. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And in this movie, a computer virus is so powerful that it can take down this sort of stuff. I'm not saying that shouldn't be there, because it makes total sense for a movie at this time to do that. And I don't know whether it's because because of how old I am. The fact that these things feel dated to me, even though stuff from the 70s doesn't feel dated to me, and maybe it's because I'm so far away from that, whereas I'm fully aware of, obviously I'm fully aware of late 90s technology. I'm aware of that, but it's it's what I was going through when I was very small child. So that.
And the old woman is coming back again.
Again, I'm just trying to explain properly, and I'm stressing myself out right now.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
If this makes any sense at all, stuff from the year 2001 feels way more dated to me than stuff from the year 1941. Because I am aware of it. Because I lived that. And it's in the past. It's in my past. It's not in the past. It's in my past. So it will always feel
perfect sense.
Very dated to me, even though it's decades and decades and decades from people wearing trench coats and hats in the 40s with like Humphrey Bogart. Like, sure, that's dated, but it's also a completely different. That's a completely different world.
And I feel like that's something that you particularly pick up on in movies.
Absolutely,
like,
it is.
One thing that you like one of the first things that you picked up on in Men in Black 2 was the whole. It's so dated.
It's so
it
2002.
Yeah. Like, that was, like, a main thing you picked up on. And I didn't really think about it that much until you... And I'm like, you're right. Like, the music and things people were saying. And, yeah, like...
But, I mean...
that is something that you are seem more sensitive to than other people. That things in maybe 90s, 2000s, early era... that totally is dated for you. And that's something you definitely always seem to pick up on right away in movies.
But is that not really weird? That I don't think the same but I don't think the same thing about 80s movies or 70s movies.
No, but that makes sense the way you explained it, because that's just in the general past. So that's kind of the same for anybody. But something that's in your past where you existed and you kind of saw things change, especially since you were like maybe quite a bit younger than most people at that time, it stamps for you so much harder. I think that makes sense to me.
Maybe, but I mean, there is some movies though from that era that have very, very late 90s, early 2000s stuff in them that I don't mind at all. Like, I am a sucker for Amanda Bynes movies.
Well, see, you're gonna have a lot of fun when we do our teen movie month. Because
sure
those
I am.
movies are
and I think
all like late 90s, early 2000s.
Sure I am. I think it's because those movies are
trends
silly.
And yes.
I think that's
when it's
why.
Something that's supposed to be like serious or very genre heavy, I think maybe that's when you pick up on it more, because especially when it's something maybe that's supposed to be set in like
present,
dealing with things that are kind of futuristic. I think that all.
Yeah, but that's I mean, that's weird as well, because again I'm going back to the point of I'm way more convinced by futuristic sci-fi movies that were made in the 50s, which doesn't make sense.
Like something like Men in Black that's dealing with all this kind of weird futuristic kind of technology.
No, but I love Men in Black. I love Men in Black. Men in Black's great, but Men in Black is also very silly. And Men in Black has some very smart subtext of diversity and immigration and stuff like that I really like. That Independence Day does not have. It has no substance to it whatsoever.
Except for the fact of telling you that America is the best.
Except for the fact that telling you America is the best. And while I tend to agree with that statement, Maybe not in its current state, but, in general, I like American people. Yeah, but I don't know.
Okay.
I've
Well,
stressed myself
get
out
into your
in this
positives.
episode.
Well, now you can get into the positives, the things that you did enjoy about this movie.
The last half hour or so, right from the speech all the way through, I think the speech is a great speech.
I mean, everyone was telling you how great the speech was.
It
So did it live up to everyone's
honestly, it did, but again, I have no emotion towards that speech. Something.
I thought this was a moment where you were trying to get the goodwill of the
It
people
is,
back.
and it is, and I really like the speech. But this is our Independence Day. I have no concept of what an Independence Day is.
Yeah, but I mean, it should be more general than just America, blah, blah, Independence Day. Because he's just saying it's our Independence Day from aliens.
But he's also saying,
and
it's
aliens
so
are
fitting.
attacking.
This should happen on July
aliens.
4th. It's like, yeah, just because the White House has been destroyed and other things have been destroyed, and I don't know. I don't like being sad.
Okay, well, what else did you like? You liked the speech, and what else?
But also, I need to explain why I liked the speech, because people now don't think I like the speech.
Well, yeah, you said, I love the speech. It was great. I didn't feel anything.
I
but
didn't
it
feel
was
anything.
Great. So,
It was a great speech.
So maybe you should. Okay, so then elaborate.
It was a great speech because it was perfect for this movie. It was doing exactly what the rest of the movie was doing, and that is the best. That is the best. Not expression. That is the best. I've forgotten what words are right now, too, which is kind of.
You mean like
annoying.
Expression of patriotism?
No,
it was kind of like
it's the best example. It's the best example of what this movie is doing.
it's trying to say.
Yeah. And it's also very well performed. Bill Pullman's great in the whole movie. He is.
You wouldn't have given a very enthusiastic salute like that.
Oh God, no.
That very intense extra at the end of the speech.
Oh no. I mean, sure. It's all, and I get the movie's over the top. I get the movie's supposed to be a little bit over the top, but it also takes itself way too seriously. And has nothing to show for that seriousness. It has nothing to show for that seriousness.
So going into it, I know you knew it was like a big kind of action, blow up effects, alien kind of movie. Did you kind of expect the actors to kind of know what kind of movie they were in and
a little bit
not play it so serious?
A little bit, yeah. Oh, definitely. I did not expect everybody to be so serious, but then also the movie isn't as serious as everybody in the movie thinks it is.
Yeah, it's not like a Sly or Arnold movie where they kind of know that it's silly premise and they just kind of go along with it and they know what they're doing. They know what kind of movie it is and they're playing to that. Whereas no one was really playing to the kind of silly epic of this movie. They were just really being very serious with everything.
Alien invasion movies can be made very seriously. Look at A Quiet Place. That is a very serious movie where everybody in it is very serious, but they know they're in a serious movie. Independence Day isn't a serious movie. It's a movie about America defeating aliens. It's not that serious of a movie, and it's made to feel like it's the most serious, most sort of meaningful movie of all time, and it just isn't. It does what it does very well, but it has no business being as serious as it is.
And to that point that you made earlier, I feel like because they were playing it so serious and there wasn't that fear to give characters more complexity, like in something like The Quiet Place, that's when the seriousness didn't quite work.
Exactly.
Maybe for you, because there wasn't any kind of emotion beyond that in some ways, I
Exactly.
guess.
Exactly.
Like in this situation, typically someone would be frightened, terrified, but you didn't really get any of that. So
In
everyone was just very confident and serious and had a plan for everything. So I can see why you wouldn't really get as much emotion out of this
in a
as you should or you expected to.
in a movie that is, and again, every movie manipulates emotions. That's what movies are there to do. But in a movie like this that is so emotionally manipulative with what's going on, it tells you how to feel every single shot of the movie with all the music and just everything. It just tells you how to feel. The fact that I've blanked again, I'm stressing myself out during this episode completely. I apologise, everyone. What the hell was I trying to say then? I had in my head something really great that I was just about to say, and something that made sense, that didn't make me sound like a complete moron, that didn't make me sound like some sort of cynical, movie-hating idiot. But
I'm sorry, guys. I think I broke Morgan.
I have been broken. What the hell was I trying to say? Oh, I'm broken.
Well, I mean, you could talk about more things that you actually did like, because you say you liked a lot,
What?
but
Yeah, no,
beyond the speech.
I should talk about that, but what the hell? That's just going to annoy me now, what I was trying to say. That's just really going to annoy me. But yeah, I mean, I did like everything past the speech. I thought the action was great. When there was actually action, I thought the action was great. I like the dynamic between Goldblum and Will Smith a lot, which is understandable because they're two incredibly charismatic people. I like Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid will always be Cousin Eddie.
Yeah. And he gets to save the day. Like
He does
because of him.
kind of get to save the day, even though
And it's like-
I think his big quote is a bit like ridiculous and silly, but I get it. It fits.
But I mean, there was that whole joke of him being probed, and so up yours, I think, was fitting.
I mean, I guess.
But people don't really think about the fact that, okay, you know, they after he does it and it blows up the ship, and then all the military people are like, we need to spread the word to the other countries so they know how to defeat these things. So does that mean like one guy's gonna have to just like fly into the ship and blow it up?
Yeah.
Like
guess.
one guy's gonna have to kill himself in every country.
I guess, because it's just going to let them know how it's done. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the one person that flies into the
Into the ship
Into the
and
ship.
blow it up? Because yeah, I mean he was gonna shoot it with a missile, but I don't think his one missile would have like taken down the whole ship.
No. I don't know.
So,
maybe
yeah.
it would have. Maybe Randy Quaid was just behaving like typical Randy Quaid and didn't think things through and instead just killed himself.
He didn't have to do that for no
for
reason.
no real reason when he could have
When-
just shot. He decided to fly straight through, shouting,
Right.
"Hello, boys, I'm back." And then, who's even to say that these were the exact same aliens that took Randy Quaid in the first place? Does Randy Quaid know that? Is Randy Quaid on first name terms with all the aliens? I don't think so.
Perhaps. I mean, they got very intimate, so I would hope so.
Well, I don't know. I don't know.
So you didn't feel anything emotionally in that scene, but you appreciated that, wow, this goof of a guy that they set up from the beginning of the movie as like a drunk and a crazy person and all this stuff.
The most,
Actually,
yeah, the most emotionally invested I was in any character was actually with Randy Quaid. Because he's the butt of everyone's joke. And he ends up saving the day. and he ends up
And
he goes out on his own
son
terms.
and his son, discount Keanu Reeves, got to be there to witness his father be a hero.
He's actually my favourite character in the whole movie. Discount Keanu Reeves is my favourite character in the whole movie. Why does he look so much like Keanu Reeves? But then
And he
isn't
kind of
Keanu
does
Reeves.
that, whoa, kind of
He
like,
does
yeah,
exactly that.
kind of thing. Way, dad, like, oh my gosh.
He does exactly that.
And like those
I
kids
don't
look
know.
nothing like Randy Quaid. I don't know.
I don't. You know what? I don't know either. But I honestly am. I honestly was the most emotionally invested in Randy Quaid simply because he is, yeah, like I said, the butt of everyone's joke, and he is the one that ends up saving the day and goes out on his own terms. So that's really good. Even though Goldblum is my favourite character in the movie, just because I think he's the most interesting. And
He is, and I love all the moments with his dad. It's
yeah,
really sweet.
his relationship with his dad is really cool.
And his ex-wife.
Yeah, who's now obviously kind of involved with the president career-wise and such. Even like Bill Pullman's great as well, though. He's really good as a president.
He's a very likable
He's a
president.
very likable president. It's, I mean, one of the, as far as presidents go, kind of, presidents in movies tend to not have to do a lot.
But I like that he was he was a fighter pilot or whatever when he was
absolutely.
and he went out there with everyone else and was fighting the aliens.
That's kind of saying,
like I loved that.
The last half hour is exactly what I wanted this movie to be. Pure
like
action.
stuff like that were like the patriotic things that I was like
yeah.
like those were the things. Randy Quaid saving the day, those were the patriotic things that I was like could get behind. Like hell yeah.
But yeah, like I said, the last half hour of pure action, pure sci-fi action adventure is what the whole movie should have been, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I agree. In watching it again, the third act is really great. Is really strong. Is the strongest part.
Or, having said that though, or if they wanted to make the whole movie the emotional story of each of the characters, and not have any of the action, do that, because it's still then. It's just maybe the mixing of the two, and I don't know if I expected that, and that's why. I don't know if I expected a simpler movie or whether it was just a pure action or just... Obviously, I expected it to be just a pure action movie. Again, I'm muddling my words right now because I feel like I've been completely incoherent all episode and I'm very annoyed with myself. I apologise.
No, you've been great.
I expected the movie to be pure action sci-fi. It wasn't, and that's okay if it had have been completely the opposite, in the sense that it was all about the characters and their emotional journeys, rather than this is also a big, dumb, fun action movie. Like, to have both makes, like I said, like I've been saying throughout, makes it feel overblown.
Okay. I can see that.
In my opinion.
Because, I mean, I feel like the introduction of, like, Bill Pullman and Will Smith and Randy Quaid and Jeff Goldblum, like, the little setup vignettes of each of those characters was, I thought, really well done.
Yeah.
You got to see, their relationships, what they're trying to accomplish, kind of personality things about them. Like, you see, Jeff Goldblum getting annoyed because people aren't recycling because he cares so much about the earth, like stuff, like just little things like that. I thought everyone had their nice little introduction to their character. And then instead of really using that middle section to really kind of continue with those 4 vignettes and add a little bit to each of them while throwing in the action and all of that stuff, that's kind of where the muddling kind of happened.
The second act, I don't want to say ruins, because again, I think it's an enjoyable movie. The the reason I'm getting so muddled and sort of frustrated with my own explanations in this whole episode is because I actually think it's a good movie. I'm just trying to explain why I think it doesn't resonate with me as much. And I think with anything, to try and explain your own emotional opinions or to try and explain your own emotional reactions to anything is very difficult.
Well, I think you've done a pretty good job kind of
Well,
showing
thank you.
why you feel the way you feel. And I mean, it made sense to me, so that's all that matters. But
I guess that is all that matters. Thank you, Jeannine. You've made me feel very comfortable today.
So to close out, just any last thoughts, any last things you want to say about Independence Day, your first watch of this very American patriotic movie?
Maybe I need a discussion with somebody who adores Independence Day. And like an intelligent discussion with somebody who adores Independence Day, and I just want them to explain to me why. I want to explain. I want to hear their reasons why. I don't want to not in a sense of that I, need someone to defend their own opinion on the movie, because I'm not like that. I'm not saying that sort of stuff. I'm not saying you're an idiot for liking Independence Day, for God's sake. I've been very fearful all episode that that's what I've sounded like I've been saying. Hopefully I haven't come across like that. I have been very much speaking about myself. Everybody's fully free to enjoy whatever the hell they want to enjoy. I mean, look at some of the movies that I like, for God's sake. No other human being likes some of those movies that I like. But I do, because for some reason those movies speak to me and this one didn't so much. Even though I am coming away saying it's a perfectly watchable movie. I would watch it again. I would welcome watching it with a bunch of patriotic Americans on the 4th of July. Because I think that would severely improve my opinion on the movie. If I was able to see other people's reaction and truly get why some people flat out adore this movie.
Well said, sir. Well said.
I don't think I've said anything well for the last hour. So I appreciate that very much, Jeannine. Is there anything else you want to say about Independence Day? I think I've worn myself out.
I just appreciated the realization that you gave me that, there's not really a lot of fear in this movie. And I feel like fear makes characters feel maybe more real, more relatable, because everyone gets scared at some point. And I just didn't really think about that. So I think maybe that would have added more depth to the story, more depth to the characters. And it was kind of interesting to realize that, that was kind of lacking. And I think that maybe plays into the whole patriotism that, Americans are supposed to be brave and strong and heroic and, all of that whole thing. So that was a really interesting takeaway from my rewatch. But I still got as much enjoyment out of it as I always have when I watch this movie. I love the characters. I absolutely love the character setup. That's a big thing for me. Like, introductions are like some of my favorite things about movies, like how they introduce characters, how they kind of tell the story, lay out the story for you right at the start. So all of that was really well done. Of course, the finale is my favorite. Yeah. And
it's by far the best part of the whole movie.
The effects are,
The effects are good.
Most of the effects look really good. There's a lot of kind of green screeny looking things, but that's to be expected in 1996.
I have no problem with the effects. I have zero problem with the effects.
Still very great, explosions, how things look are really cool. The alien design's really cool and kind of creepy. So that's another thing of, why weren't people more scared? Those things were terrifying looking. But yeah. I still got as much enjoyment out of this movie as I always have, and I can totally understand why you would have opposing opinions to that.
Even though I still did enjoy the movie.
Even though you did enjoy things about it, and I appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty. I appreciate you explaining your feelings about the movie, and that's what this show's about, is to kind of expose you to things that you've never seen and make you think about things about yourself that maybe you didn't realize. And yeah, it's all in fun and
it is all in fun.
Movie love, and
of course it's all in fun. Sometimes I get annoyed with myself when I get all muddled up. But
I'm sorry I broke your brain.
Yeah, my brain was broken this week. But that's okay, because we had a bunch of fun doing it. I bet everybody wishes they now voted for Hitch.
And according to some people, you may not really need your brain for this next series of movies we have coming up. So it's all good if it's broken. Which are, I guess I can go into what our next series will be.
You can. I mean, everybody already knows if they've listened to any episode of this show recently at all. But yeah, with these movies that we have coming up, what I don't. Again, I'm muddling up my words. Jeannine, please take over. I apologise, everyone.
So, in anticipation of Hobbs and Shaw, I am very excited to announce officially that we will be doing all of the Fast and Furious films, with our bonus movie actually being Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this run we might get some guests on. We'll see. And yeah, because there are so many movies in this franchise, we will be doing 2 movies per episode.
Yeah.
So next week, we'll be talking about both Fast and Furious 1 and Too Fast, Too Furious. So I think that'll be really fun. Morgan is not really looking forward to it because he hasn't really ever had any kind of interest in these movies.
No.
So this should be
I'm
very, very interesting.
I'm going to be apologising a lot. And...
well, these
that's
are not
new
like
for me, so.
These are not lauded, beloved films. These are just films that people tend to have fun with because of how ridiculous it's gotten. And I'm really curious to see how you see like where this film starts, where this series starts. It actually is kind of trying to take itself pretty seriously, and then after the first one, it starts going off the rails, and then I think even after 5, that's when, like 5 and on, that's when it gets really bonkers. So I'm curious to see how you feel about the evolution of this series.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see, after especially we watched Point Break for the show.
Yeah.
I wonder if you'll kind of see the comparisons of that this movie maybe was trying to play with in terms of Point Break.
I really liked Point Break, even though Point Break was a little bit, long and a little bit sort of took itself a little bit seriously. It was also silly, and everybody in it knew it was silly.
So I feel like this movie might be like a weaker version of Point Break for you. So I'm just curious to see if your mind will be changed, if you'll find some things you have fun with, if you'll kind of just let your mind just be silly with these movies. So that's what I'm super excited about. So that is what we will be doing next week. The Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious. So hopefully we'll have a guest. Maybe not. We'll see. But yeah. I'm excited.
I've been half joking about, being so unenthusiastic about the Fast and Furious movies. I mean, to a point that's true, but that's just because I that's like you said, I've never really had an interest in seeing any of the movies, and that's why I haven't seen them. It's not a case of, oh, that one just skipped by me. It is a case of I have never watched them because I have never had any interest in them. But what I am expecting these movies to be exactly what I think they are, which is, I expected that with Independence Day, and it turned out to be not exactly what I thought it was. Half of it was exactly a quarter of it was exactly what I thought it was, and that happened to be the parts that I really liked about Independence Day. So maybe it's just a case of, maybe it's all just a case of expectation.
Self-aware silliness.
Self-aware silliness. And Yeah, so anybody that's been horrendously offended by me this week, I apologise. I did like the movie, I promise you. Promise you I did like the movie. I know this hasn't been the silliest episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen, and we're usually so very silly on this
Yeah,
show.
I mean, that's our motto for the show. Us. We are self-aware silliness, I would say.
I mean, yeah. I don't.
Somebody make a shirt.
Somebody make a shirt. I guess we could. Yeah, go make a shirt, guys. Go make a shirt. I don't have anything else to say about Independence Day. I'm looking forward to doing the Fast and the Furious movies, purely because you love them so much, and
They're just so ridiculous and so much fun, and I just love the crazy evolution of how they managed to like connect them all and create this universe out of car movies. Like, that is just crazy to me.
And I think that's what I'm going to like most about these movies, is the fact that they are, to a point, very stupid, but also are very aware how stupid they are.
Yes.
Maybe not stupid. Okay,
They are
maybe
definitely aware.
stupid's a bit of a negative word. Ridiculous, like you said, is a better word.
Ridiculous, yes.
That's what I like. I love it when ridiculous movies know they are ridiculous. Absolutely love that. And Independence Day didn't do that. It
and that's kind of what
was
you
a
were
ridiculous
expecting,
movie that was too serious for its own benefit, in my opinion. And I apologise.
Yes, that makes sense.
This is. This was a. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. My brain, Jeannine, has broken. I think that's going to do it for this week on Morgan Hasn't Seen. Please, guys, if you're not completely sick of me at all, tune in to It's a Wonderful Podcast this coming Friday, where Rachel Silvestrini makes her return, and we talk about The Court Jester, which is a ridiculous movie that I loved. It is. We get into it. It's a blast. It's so fun. That episode. Keep an eye out for that this coming Friday. Rachel's always great. She knows a ridiculous amount about every musical ever, and it just so happens that The Court Jester was not only her choice, but is also one of her favourite ever movies. And I'm so thankful she made me watch that, because it was. I had no expectations. I had no idea what I thought I was getting from that movie, but I was very pleased with what I got. It is bizarre, and
Ooh, I can't wait to listen.
best. But yeah, that's what I've got coming up. I guess tune in also for the next week, where Fast and Furious will be starting on. Morgan Hasn't Seen, and Jeannine is very excited for that. Jeannine, what have you got going on? Are we not currently in the middle of Machine Week?
Yes, Machine Week has begun. Yeah, I have 2 matches dropping this week for the Schmodown. I have my debut in teams with my partner, Ethan Irwin. And then I will be going up against Mike Kalinowski in singles. And I believe that will be wide release for everybody on Friday.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to do like the little Patreon releases. And then by the end of the week, they all should be up for everybody, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm kind of dubbed it Unofficial Machine Week because, I'm coming off a pretty good game in Collision. I've gotten a lot of compliments of how I played in the Manager Bowl, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. And now I got 2 matches dropping this week, so it's really exciting. And, yeah, so check me out in the Schmodown, the movie trivia Schmodown. And other than that, just Machine Mondays. I released a new one this week, talking about those 2 matches and how I'm feeling about it. So check it out on triviasd.com. check out my Patreon, Jeannine LC, on patreon.com. My tea shop at G9 Design on TeePublic.
Where you can buy your
yeah.
Morgan Hasn't Seen and It's a Wonderful Podcast shirts, yay.
You can. And patrons actually got Morgan Hasn't Seen stickers this month.
Oh, how nice. How lovely.
For their June stickers.
I'm sure they all will. I'm sure they will throw them in the bin after hearing this episode. I laugh at myself. It's what I do, guys.
It's okay.
It is okay.
And yeah, if you want to say hi, find me at Jeannine LC, or just Jeannine LC, Jeannine Dabine on Twitter and Instagram.
Jeannine LC is your Patreon. You have so many names,
Yes,
Jeannine.
I have just so many things going on, so many places to find me. So yes,
many.
at Jeannine Dabine on Twitter and Instagram.
So all of those places.
I think you've broken my brain too, Morgan.
This is this whole episode has been a slugfest, and a very unusual episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. But hell, unusual things are nice every now and again. I would like anybody. I welcome conversation about Independence Day. Please tweet me about Independence Day. Of course, you can follow the podcast feed on Twitter, which is at It's a Wonderful One. Me on Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in the because Jeannine.
3 is the magic number.
Yes. Or on Instagram at just the Purple Dawn. Please, I want to have conversations about Independence Day. I want to know why you love Independence Day. I really do.
So on July 4th, tweet at Morgan, because he will not be celebrating. So take a break from your hot dog eating.
I will be celebrating losing day.
And your fireworks watching, and send a message to Morgan.
Oh, but don't be mean about it. I've tried so hard to not be mean about it this
Send
episode.
him a nice conversational message about Independence Day.
I always try and not be mean whenever I have somewhat different opinions on this kind of thing to most people I've come across. I always love being positive, Jeannine. I really do. That's why
I know.
That's why I found. It's why I can always find positives in any movie, even Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat. And that is how you come full circle. Yes,
Beautiful.
Success. Guys, that is going to do it for another episode of Morgan Hasn't Seen. We have the Fast and the Furious nonsense coming up next, and the Court Jester on It's a Wonderful Podcast with Rachel Silvestrini coming out this coming Friday. It is a blast. Wishing
all the Americans out there a happy 4th of July.
I mean, that goes without saying. Happy Independence Day, the US. I one day hope to have as much. I don't know. I one day hope to celebrate the 4th of July with a bunch of Americans in the US and finally feel like a true American, even though, well, I suppose that could be possible if I ever become an American citizen, which after this episode, the government is most unlikely to grant
approve
me
your request.
Such a important document. Guys, thank you for sticking with me for this long, and until next time, Jeannine, let's do it at the same time like we always like to do it, but we always seem to fail. Bye.
Bye.
I think we failed again. It's getting ridiculous.
I think we're fine. You edit this. You could just sync us up.